Alright, so welcome to my video on the kiss heard round the world. So for those who aren't sports fans, and specifically soccer fans, the Women's World Cup finished up recently. And Spain won the World Cup. And in the celebration, the head of the federation first grabbed his crotch in celebration briefly because apparently that's how you celebrate. I never understood the point of grabbing your crotch, even when Michael Jackson started doing it in the 80s. Still don't understand the point of that. So he did that, and then he, among other things, he kissed a player on the lips. And so that's what I'm referring to as the kiss heard round the world. Because apparently people have gotten up in arms because the player said that she didn't want it. So, I was in a brief Twitter discussion with someone about this, and apparently, according to this person, unless it's rape, it's not assault. Anyway, but let's get to the article, and I will provide commentary that way. FIFA has opened disciplinary proceedings against Luis Rubiales, the head of Spain's soccer federation, after he kissed player Jennifer Hermoso on the mouth during the Women's World Cup medal ceremony. In a statement Thursday, soccer's global governing body stated simply that events that occurred during the final on Sunday may constitute violations by Rubiales to FIFA's disciplinary code. The kiss, broadcast live around the world, appeared forced by Rubiales, igniting widespread criticism and calls for his dismissal. Because, following Spain's win over England, Rubiales also made crotch-grabbing gestures in a dignitary's box a few feet away from the Queen of Spain. They don't mention. It's not that it was just the Queen who was there. Her 16-year-old daughter, Infanta Sofia, was there as well, which is the one that really gets people up in arms. It's that a teenage girl was there. And tightly hugged many of the players, lifting them off the ground. Now, I did see a quote from him claiming that, this is the kind of activity he would do with his daughters. Great. Those are your daughters. If they're okay with that, great. These are women that you do not know. They do not give you permission to treat them like that, then, I don't know, be professional with them, or ask them beforehand whether it's okay. It's like, hey, if you guys win the World Cup, can I treat you like this or that or the other thing, and not just do it. Anyway, in Spain, the president of the country's High Council of Sport said on Wednesday that the council would take action against Rubiales if Spain's Soccer Federation, ARFEF, did not do so urgently. The Federation has called an emergency meeting for Friday, and referring to events during the Cup final, it noted that its internal proceedings are public when they invoke integrity issues. Hermoso spoke through her union, FootPro, which she said is taking charge of defending my interests and being the interlocutors on this matter. Oh my God. Along with her agency, TMJ. FootPro, which represents women's soccer players in Spain, expressed firm and resounding condemnation of behaviors that violate the dignity of women. From our association, we asked the Royal Spanish Football Federation to implement the necessary protocols, ensure the rights of our players, and adopt exemplary measures. It is essential that our team, the current world champion, is always represented by figures who project values of equality and respect in all areas, it said in the statement. We also call on the Higher Sports Council so that within its powers it actively supports and promotes prevention and intervention in the face of sexual harassment or abuse, machismo, and sexism, FootPro concluded. There had previously been a disconnect between what Hermoso had expressed just after the game and what the Federation later released in a statement it attributed to her. Because, nothing screams that the Federation isn't sexist, pieces of crap, than pretending she said something she didn't. Anyway, in a live stream from the locker room following the match, Hermoso said of Rubiales' kiss, "I didn't like it." As she is apparently shown a video or photo of the kiss, she says, "What do I do? Look at me, look at me." Later, RFF released a statement it said was from Hermoso, in which she downplayed the event's severity, calling it a mutual gesture. Though Spanish news site Relevo reported that Hermoso did not actually write or say the statement. FIFA says the events involving Rubiales may constitute violations to its disciplinary code, pointing to paragraphs that address offensive behavior and the obligation to comply with FIFA's rules and principles of fair play. It says a person may be subject to discipline for, among other things, violating the basic rules of decent conduct, using offensive gestures, signs, or language, or behave in a way that brings the sport of soccer and or FIFA into disrepute. Okay, now about that last part, FIFA is doing a good enough job on its own in putting it in disrepute. It doesn't need anybody's help. On Tuesday, Spain's acting Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, rebuked Rubiales. It was an unacceptable gesture, and Mr. Rubiales' apologies are not enough. Now, he has apologized, sort of. Saying things like, "Oh, this is the way I act with my daughters, and I'm sorry if I hurt anyone. I was just excited in the moment." Okay, you're excited in the moment. You don't have to kiss a woman. I mean, I fail to see where you're getting this idea that it was consensual. You are the president of the federation. Number one, she was probably shocked because it's like, wait, what? For one thing. And plus, you're the head of their federation. What are they supposed to do? Kick you in the nuts in front of everybody and embarrass everybody? No, you're the one with the power. You're not supposed to be doing this. Just got excited my ass. But, yeah. Actually, let me see if I can find his apology. I know that I saw that what was I saying now? Oh yeah, that the Spanish team was basically mutinying, that they're like, yeah, until he steps down, we're not playing anymore. So, Let me see if I can find his apology. I don't see the apology. So, but suffice it to say, his apology was basically, what I said. He's claimed that this is something he does with his daughters. Great. Do that with your daughters. Nobody is saying that your behavior was always inappropriate, always in every situation. But these are not your daughters. You're definitely old enough to be their father, yes. But that doesn't mean you should treat them like your daughters to that extent. They are not your daughters. If they gave you permission, awesome. But they're not your daughters, so don't treat them like your daughters. Care about them. Don't act like an ass. Don't act towards them like you would, treat your daughters, like they're just a conquest or whatever. Obviously, treat them well, like you would hopefully treat your daughters. But that analogy only goes so far. If you're going to treat them like your daughters, great, but remember that they are still strangers. So, if you don't have the permission to manhandle them like you did, kiss them, pick them up and throw them over your shoulder, and, a hug. I'm sure the hugs were fine because I know at least in many countries in Europe, the double kiss is a thing. So it's possible in Spain that hugs are acceptable. So, yeah. If that's an acceptable gesture in Spain, fine. But if it's not something that's within the norm, you need to ask permission. You can't just assume that because you see them as your daughters or whatever, that you should take that to the extreme. Because some women do not want to be treated like that. And I'm sure she felt very uncomfortable being kissed on the lips. Because it's one thing to hug her and give her the double kiss. Things that are normal reactions and part of culture. But this is not it. There is nowhere where a kiss on the lips is part of your culture of a stranger. I mean, I remember when I was very young, elementary school age, I would kiss my parents on the lips because it was just a peck. I grew out of it and I stopped that. But that's a thing. That is fine amongst family members. But you cannot assume that something that's fine amongst family is going to be fine amongst strangers. And if you can't understand that, you sure as hell should not be around the opposite sex. Actually, you might want to consider not being around people because, I mean, obviously, I doubt he would have ever treated men like this. He never would have kissed them on the lips. He never would have, well, he probably couldn't have picked them up, but he probably wouldn't have even given them big hugs. Maybe he would. Like I said, I don't know enough about Spanish culture. So maybe he would. But, basically, treat women this way. If you wouldn't do this to a man or attempt to do this to a man, don't do it to a woman. Unless, like I said, you got permission beforehand. Because he was under the impression, I'm not sure how, but he seemed to be under the impression that it was okay, that they have a prior understanding. And she's saying no. No, they did not. So, one of you is lying. And considering how vulgar you were just grabbing your crotch because somehow that's celebratory, I'm gonna say it's you and not her. And even if she was okay with this in a different context, that doesn't mean she was okay with it now. I mean, God knows what the context could have been previously. But context matters. Context matters because even amongst the same people. Like I said, maybe when your daughters were young, I don't know how they are now, but at a certain age, they probably would be perfectly fine with you giving them a peck on the lips. But as they grow older, they might decide, I don't like that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. It is not for you to decide, well, previously it was okay, so it should still be okay, despite them telling me no now. So, yeah, that's why you have to get consent. Because what you might have thought was an understanding wasn't. So, I see no reason why you couldn't just ask beforehand, can I kiss you? It's like, if we win, can I peck you on the lips? And if she says no, fine, leave it at that. But you need to get permission. You can't just assume. Even if you did something similar, or because I highly doubt it was the same thing, but even if you did something similar earlier on, that doesn't mean that she wanted it now. So you need to find out what is happening. Otherwise, something like this ends up happening. But like I said, since he thought that grabbing his crotch was actually a great move, I'm gonna say that, number one, there was no mutual understanding, and that it wasn't consensual. So, and that he's just trying to defend himself now. Whether he realizes he made a mistake and is just trying to cover up, because he did sort of give an apology saying, oh, I'm sorry for anyone this might have hurt, this wasn't my intention, and it's entirely possible that he meant it. That unfortunately so many people phrase it like that it's been devoid of all meaning. But it's possible he does feel bad for the way he reacted. But, now should this be debated amongst the public who are not Jennifer Hermoso or Luis Rubiales? Probably not. But, unfortunately, it was a public display, so here we are. But at the same time, yeah, if he wants to really apologize, he needs to not beat around the bush. He shouldn't just say, oh, I'm sorry for anyone who got hurt by this. How about talking to the player? The one that you kissed? And actually, maybe the ones that you threw over your shoulder like a sack of potatoes. Maybe they didn't appreciate that either. It's possible they were fine with it. It's possible that they were like, I cannot believe what my Federation president is doing right now. So those are the people you should apologize to. You need to say their names. Because as it stands, it sounds like a canned apology that is just something that everybody says just to apologize and not actually mean anything. Because as it stands now, it doesn't sound very good from you. So FIFA has suspended him, and now it's a matter of what's going to come out of if they're going to continue investigating him. I don't know how long he's been suspended for, but they are investigating still, and hopefully this comes to a resolution. It sounds like Spain's team, women's team, isn't going to play until he's removed. So he just screwed his career. He's a former player. He screwed his career just by that stupid act. Now, he claims it was just a moment of celebration and that he wasn't thinking. I'm sorry. Under what rock do you live in? Because women have been speaking up against any type of assault or harassment for years now. Me Too predates the frickin' pandemic. It's been around for a while. How much under a rock do you have to live to not realize that you cannot afford to do this sort of thing with women? Because unless, again, if you got their permission, then there's no problem. If they give you permission to throw them over your shoulder like a sack of potatoes, fine. If they gave you permission to peck them on the lips, fine. If you need to get their permission. Seriously, that is all you needed to do. Get their permission, saying, I'll get excited, I'll probably do this, is it okay? And if they say yes, fine. If they say no, then you don't do it. I just don't understand how this is such a hard concept. That you, I don't know, show respect to women by, giving them bodily autonomy and there are people I've heard who are like, but it was just a kiss. Yeah, which the woman did not want. So, yeah, it was just a kiss. It wasn't like he raped her. However, that doesn't mean that it wasn't an assault. It just means it wasn't out and out rape. There are degrees of assault. And grabbing her head, and actually I have a picture of this. This does not look like a woman who's consenting. Let me bring that up. Let me see if I can find it again. Doop-dee-doo. Okay. Well, actually, let me around. So, this is a very small, but that does not look like a woman who is consenting. And then, sorry for the scroll, we have this. She looks in shock. She's like, wait, what? I mean, she's bemused. Do not get me wrong, she is bemused, but this doesn't look like someone who is expecting that. And he looks like he's having a grand old time doing that. I'm sorry, that is not acceptable. Huh. I mean, yeah, if they're just goofing off and they're, in a situation, in a relationship, friendly relationship where she's perfectly okay with him doing that. But the way he looks is just so lecherous and so ew. Let me see if there's any other pictures here. So yeah, it's just he initially said he was going to resign, and then suddenly he wasn't going to resign. So it's just so weird. It's like he has this angel on one shoulder, devil on the other, and the angel is telling him, you done fucked up, you need to do the right thing and step down. And then the devil said, hold up, you don't want to do that, because then you're admitting that you're, I don't know, less than a man, because you're actually letting women tell you what to do. I honestly have no idea why he is, holding out. Why he's so insisting that there was a mutual understanding, it was consensual, blah, blah, blah. How could it have been? You didn't give her a chance to consent. You just grabbed her face, kissed her. And if there was some prior understanding, well, the fact that she's saying no should kind of tell you that whatever you thought was a prior understanding wasn't. So you need to talk to her. You need to say, this is why I thought that this was okay. And then she can explain why no, it wasn't. Because obviously there's a misunderstanding somewhere. Now, I'm being very charitable here, and assuming that there was something other than something in his own head. That there was something that he probably misunderstood. And that's fine, but the person you have to talk to is the player, not this canned apology that literally every celebrity uses when they're caught doing bad things. So just talk to her. Find out where the misunderstanding occurred, if there even was one, or if he was just hoping that people would be like, oh, well, I guess there's something wrong with her or something. I don't know what he thinks he's accomplishing by doing this. So, anyway, I'm rambling. I'm getting just madder by the second. So, I'll end the video here, and I will see you guys in the next one.